Hey, Mr. Simonini here. This video is about how to graph in factored form, which is what we're going to be doing today on homework A. Now, understand, I like kind of setting some goals for this week that what we're going to be achieving, or hopefully you should somewhat know how to do. The two goals, the two big forms, is that hopefully by the end of the week you should be able to graph and know how to solve in factored form. Today is all about graphing. And then we're also going to be able to hopefully graph and solve in all three forms, that is vertex form, standard form, and factor form, when the problems are all mixed up. Now, since today is about graphing, the most important thing that you have to be able to find is the vertex. Whenever you find the vertex, you can put it in the middle of your table, and then you can go ahead and graph it. And then that should hopefully give you enough information of how to do it. Anyways, this is reminding, whenever I see the word vertex, remember vertex is the bottom of the quadratic, or if it's opening down, the vertex is on the very top. So just be clear. We have done vertex form already, found the vertex. Remember, it's the opposite of what's inside and then the number outside. So in this case, it was 1, -4. We did that in vertex form. We also did it in standard form. In standard form, there was this really important formula to find the x of the vertex, and it was the opposite of b over 2a. Once you did that, this was -4, you plug it in, and then you get an answer of 5. So again, you know how to find, or you should know how to find the vertex in vertex form. You should know how to find the vertex in standard form. Now today is all about factored form. We are going to be graphing. So what we have to be able to do is, how can we find the vertex? Again, I'm not trying to solve it right now, I'm trying to graph it. So the question is, what is the vertex? So that is what's new. Now, again, remember, you can always pause the video to kind of see what's happening. Feel free to slow down, or if you need to fast forward, then that's fine. But anyways, remember, you're going to be using decimals.com to graph and to do your calculations. That's what I recommend. Now, whenever you find the vertex of something that's in factored form, you need to be able to find the x-intercepts. Remember, x-intercepts are the same thing as your solutions, which is what you did on Friday, hopefully. What we need to do is we have to find the x-intercepts in order to find the vertex. So it's really important. And the key thing to know is, whenever you're finding the x-intercept, remember y is 0. So that's why 0 is on the left side. And then remember what we do, again, this was in the last lesson, in the first part of homework A, is we do opposites. So the opposites of 9 and -3, which will be, in this case, will be -9, 0, and 3, 0. Now I already have it graphed over here in decimals.com for you. So if you look, the x-intercept of -9, 0 is right there. And then the x-intercept of 3, 0 is right there. So hopefully that makes sense. Again, you're not always going to be looking at a graph. So it's just, if you had to do it by hand, this is how you do it by hand. Now, how can we use that to help us find the vertex? Well, since quadratic parabola is what we call symmetric, meaning there is a line, is what we call the axis of symmetry, that splits, again, I'm drawing it right here, that splits the quadratic in half. Like a mirror, almost, a mirror image, if you kind of reflect it over that. Now, on the axis of symmetry is the vertex. Now, if you look here, so again, that's where my x of the vertex is going to be. And if you count the squares, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, it is exactly in the middle of my x-intercepts. And it's always going to be the case because quadratics, or parabolas, are symmetric. So since the x-intercepts are on the same horizontal line, and the vertex is in the middle of my parabola, whenever you find the averages, or the middle of your x-intercepts, that's going to give you the x of the vertex. And that's really important to understand. So if you look down here, I already have written down right there. Again, the x of the vertex is exactly in the middle of the x-intercepts. Well, how do you find the middle of two numbers? Well, what you do is you find the average of the x-intercepts. And that's all you're doing. So in other words, what you do is you find the x-intercepts, which is in this case was -9. And what you do, and in order to find the average of two numbers, you add them up. And then you divide. What number should we divide by if we're trying to find the middle? Well, 2. And again, this will always be 2 here, no matter what. because you're finding the middle of two numbers, and when you're finding the middle of two numbers, you add them up together and you divide it by 2 because there's two numbers. So in this case, this is going to be -9 plus 3, which is going to be -6 divided by 2, which is going to be -3. So the x of the vertex, if you had to do it by hand, would be -3. And just like you did with standard form, in order to find the y of the vertex, you plug in x of the vertex. So you look at your equation. My x of my vertex is, so just to be clear, is -3. So it'd be -3 plus 9, -3 minus 3. And then let's say, okay, I have a little trouble figuring out that calculation. Well, you can go to decimals.com, remember? You click the scientific, I have it highlighted right there. So you click on that, and then you just plug it into here. So what was it? It was -3 plus 9. Parenthesis, -3, and I think it was -3, right? Yeah, -3. So again, if you need to do calculations, this is very much like the yellow calculator in class, the scientific calculator on decimals.com. But anyways, you get -36. So my vertex here is going to be -3, -36, which is consistent or the same thing as this picture. Yes, I know you can just look at the picture and pick it out, but if you had to do it by hand, that's how you would do it. So it's really, really important to understand this. The x of the vertex is exactly in the middle of the x-intercepts. So let me be clear what you're going to do. So I'm going to go ahead and do a problem. This is not number 2. This is just an example problem. So for example, this is what you're going to be doing on the homework. So let's say you have to graph the following. Now this is a one that's going to have a parabola opening down. So just whenever there's a negative in front of my parentheses, remember that means it's going to open down. But anyways, let's go ahead and answer the questions on the left first. So it says find the x-intercepts. So the x-intercepts are just the opposites still. It'll be consistent with my color. So this case, since it's -1 inside, this is going to be 1 and -5. So my x-intercepts are going to be 1, 0 and -5, 0. Again, the negative in front does not change that rule. The negative in front, what it does is just makes the parabola open down. All right, now my y-intercept. Now this is going to be the question that I already know I'm going to look at, and you're going to see some of you get it wrong. You have to understand that x is 0 whenever it's a y-intercept. So what you need to do is you need to just plug 0 into your equation. So I'm just plugging 0 in order to find the y-intercept. Or you can graph it on decimals.com and look at the picture. That's fine too. But if you had to do it by hand, that's what you would do. So it would be -0 minus 1, and then it was 0 plus 5. So my y-intercept is 5. So I come here, my y-intercept is going to be 5. So my y-intercept is 0, 5. So again, remember, whenever you find the y-intercept, you just plug x equals 0 in. These were my x-intercepts. All right, now it's asking for the vertex. So now I'm trying to find the vertex. So the vertex, remember, the rule is you find your x-intercepts, which are your opposites, which we found, which was 1 and -5, and you add them up, and then you divide it by 2. You always add, and you always divide by 2. So 1 plus the -5 divided by 2 is going to be -2. In order to find the y of the vertex, just like you do in standard form, you plug in x of vertex, which in this case is -2. So I plug -2 in, and then I find the y of the vertex. So you can come here now, clear all, negative. Now I'm plugging in -2. So -2 minus 1. And then -2, -2 plus 5, which is going to be 9. So the y of the vertex in this case is going to be 9. So my vertex in this problem is going to be -2, 9. So there you go. So now, since you find the vertex, now you can figure out your table. Now this is how you can graph in decimals, so make sure you pay attention. Now you don't have your yellow calculators, so the only problem is you have to come up with your x's. In order to come up with your x's, you put your vertex in the middle of your table. Once you have your x in the middle of the table, your vertex in the middle of the table, now you can figure out your x's by just counting 2 numbers before your x of the vertex and 2 numbers after your x of the vertex. So what are 2 numbers before -2? Well, that would be -3 and -4. Now, if you say -1 and 0 up there, it wouldn't change the problem because, again, parabolas are symmetric. So you're going to get the, it won't mess it up. But anyways, after negative 2 would be a negative 1 and then 0 right here. Now again, what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and go www.decimals.com to figure out the rest of this table. So I'm going to come here. So what you do is, again, you just type it in, hit go, and this is the screen that pops up. You hit start graphing. So when you want to graph, you actually want to hit the graphing calculator. You plug in your equation, which is y equals negative x, was minus 1, right? I forgot. Yeah. Oh, yeah, negative. So negative x minus 1, and then x plus 5. As you can see, it's going to pop up. Now, you can check to make sure you got your vertex right, which was negative 2, 9. This was our vertex, right? So if we look here, we did get negative 2, 9, so that does check out. Come back here. All right, so negative 2, 9. So now I'm going to go ahead and put my table in. This is where you have to plug in the x's yourself. So again, in your middle, you want negative 2. And then here we did negative 3. Here we did negative 4. And then here we did negative 1. And then we did 0. Now let me just show you this real quick. Let's say you did the other way. Let's say you had negative 1 here, and then you have 0. And then you did negative 3. And then negative 4 right here. You see you get the same y's. So it doesn't matter, again, what way you organize your table technically. But I always like doing numbers before up top and then numbers after on the bottom. Anyways, those are my points, which is nicely done for me. Again, you can click on them if you want to, and those are the points you're going to graph. Now I'm also going to graph my x-intercepts. I forgot to do that right away. So again, I can graph my x-intercepts right away. So I know those are points of the quadratic, and then you can also do your other points here as well. So I got 8, 5. I keep doing that. So 8, 5 here, 8, 5 here. So I got negative 3, 8. So I'm going to go ahead and graph it now. First, I'm going to graph my vertex. So that's negative 2, 9. Now I have to do negative 1, 8, negative 3, 8, 0, 5, and this would be negative 4, 5. So as you can see, your parabola is now shaping up to be a upside down U, which is consistent with what's on decimals.com. Go ahead and draw it in the best you can. I know it's tough on notability. And they're going to be also asked a couple questions. Remember, the axis of symmetry is the x of the vertex, which in this case is negative 2. Is this a max or mid? Well, it's opening down, so it's a max. Domain is always negative infinity to positive infinity. And since it's opening down, remember, this would be how the range goes. So it'd be negative infinity to my top y, which is 9. Well, I hope that helps. Again, that's how you can graph in factor form. Remember, it's really important to understand that the x of the vertex is you add your x-intercepts, which are the opposites of what show up in the equation, and then you always divide it by 2. Again, that will help you find the x of the vertex, then you plug that in to figure out the y of the vertex, and then you can use decimals.com to help you create the table. Anyways, please let me know if you have any questions. Thanks.